Joe Biden is in retreat when it comes to the infrastructure bill. Chalk this up to like not the most surprising news in the world, but he is ready to once again lower the expectations for the reconciliation bill. He is saying now that their ambitions have gone down to 2.3 trillion or less. And according to the New York Times, that will force hard choices about how to scale back a proposal that the president hopes will be transformational. But some people don't want to be transformed because they're doing quite well right now. Thank you very much. So Democratic leaders will probably need to narrow their plans for free community college, child tax credits, and universal pre-kindergarten. So they are offered only to lower and middle income Americans, according to party members involved in negotiations. Look, that by itself, you know what I think about means testing literally everything to a gray paste. I think it's a big waste of time, and I don't think people are honest about why they want it. If that was the limit of it though, that wouldn't be that bad. But I really feel like the New York Times is kind of underselling how much might be cut. Not just who might get access to these things, but for how long they might get access, and indeed whether these things exist at all in the final bill. That's some of what's being considered: cutting duration of reach, jettisoning initiatives entirely. All that said, there are those who are saying they're not ready to retreat just yet. There was a private meeting between Mr. Biden and some progressive lawmakers, including the head of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Pramila Jayapal, who said that she expected 2.5 trillion or up to 2.9 trillion, which is better. But again, it's not 3.5, and 3.5 was already a massive compromise over what they initially wanted. Now we've put Joe Manchin up next to me, and that is because for some reason, America's decided that he should decide what we get if we get anything at all. Now, he had said yesterday, well, maybe 1.9 to 2.2, which was higher than the 1.5 he'd said previously. Hey, maybe 2.2, maybe. But then like earlier today, he said, no, it's still 1.5. He says I'm not ruling anything out, but the bottom line is I wanna make sure that we're strategic and we do the right job, and we don't basically add more to the concerns we have right now. He doesn't want to change our society to an entitlement mentality. And look, I get that. Look, I criticize Manchin a lot, JR. I do. I say that he doesn't understand regular people. But I do think that if you talk to a lot of struggling working Americans, they say that, yes, they don't want to be burdened by all these things, but it's more important that we're strategic. So that's good. Thank you, Joe Manchin. What do you think?
Yeah, he's got his finger on the pulse. Now, there's the thing. There's details in this that stand out to folks if you're really going to analyze the way this is going. So look, there's things like they said the Democratic leaders are going to take out things like free community college, child tax credits, universal pre-K. All those things get mentioned by the AOCs and Pramila Jayapals of the world and Bernie Sanders, right? But they don't get talked about every time we talk about these issues and where things are getting broken down, and honestly, where things are getting taken out. So if we're going from the 3 trillion. And we're jumping down to 1.5 up to 1.9 to 2.2. All these numbers are what could appease Joe Manchin and possibly Kyrsten Sinema. Who knows where she stands? But it's supposed to appease him. So if we're losing like $1 trillion, $1.5 trillion, people feel more comfortable. But the media isn't talking about those types of things that are in the bill. What they talk about, I mean, they may talk about it way lower. But what we're talking about off the top is there's a disagreement amongst Democrats, liberals versus moderates. Joe Manchin versus Bernie Sanders, whatever, however they'll pose it. But when those things get taken out, and then we drop that number, if Joe Manchin is appeased because the number is better, that means something got taken out. What we're not talking about is what has been taken out and to what degree, and to which people are gonna be affected by that. They won't say that because it'll affect so many people, and it'll cause many of those people to be like, well, I don't want that taken out. Why are you taking it from me? I paid into this system. How come I'm not getting my benefits as an American back? If they know the information is happening, they're gonna be upset about what's getting taken away. $1.5 trillion, if it's not a lot of money, then Joe Manchin wouldn't be ready to settle on half of the number, right? But it must be a big number, which means something gets taken away. It can't 100%. Be both ways. It can't be like, oh, it took away a little bit of money and Joe Manchin's happy. It has to be significant. If something's significant, if it's attached to actual policies, significant policies are getting taken away. It's simply equation.
I agree with everything you said, although I'm gonna go one step further. But first of all, I want to apologize to Brandon because I'm gonna have to jump around a little bit. But the major point that you made was that the media has been very focused on sort of top line stuff, the back and forth, who versus who, and all that. And look, I'll admit, lately, I think maybe even we have. Now, my defense would be that we have covered in depth what's supposed to be in the bill and all that, and we do. I don't know, maybe should we or shouldn't we? I anticipate that the audience has a lot of information. I expect that of the audience. I don't think that they're randos coming to this not knowing what a Mitch McConnell is and all that. So, but the media largely has focused on that stuff because the media in general feels like they're supposed to be objective. They certainly shouldn't be seen to be advocating for policies or anything like that. And they certainly wouldn't want to besmirch the reputations of any individual politicians by implying that their stated objectives are anything other than true and honest. But some good people that I like on social media have been pointing out this process. I want to give them credit. They said similar things to what you said. Parker Malloy, a friend of the show, said pretty remarkable how little the actual contents of the reconciliation bill are being discussed in the news. Instead, it's just anchors saying the words 3.5 trillion over and over. And Adam Johnson says maybe if you're lucky in the written coverage, expanded dental, vision, and hearing coverage, universal pre-K, expanding Medicare, 2 years of free community college will be brought up in paragraph 7. The framing is all about jockeying between political forces, no sense of the human impact on poverty. And I think, look, some of what I read in anticipation of this, including we quoted from a New York Times piece, has a little bit more of that, kind of. It's not the best, but they have a little bit of it. But even them, like they have this, I'm gonna read this quote. We don't have a graphic for it. The president acknowledged in private meetings on Monday and Tuesday with House Democrats that he was now negotiating a plan to spend more than 2.3 trillion and possibly less in a concession to two Democratic centrist holdouts, Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona. And even there, like it's not just that we only focus on the numbers and not the substance. We barely focus on why any of this is going on. And to the extent that we do, most of the media has bought into like real past the Bucky type stuff from these supposed centrists. And that's a whole other thing, the fact that they call them centrists, and how do you decide on that? What's the argument for doing that? Why should $1 trillion in benefits be cut out? Why should, for instance, let's say they take out the dental, okay? Why should that be done? In a concession to them. But you'll notice they never have to push for it. Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, we give Joe Manchin credit for being a little bit more honest about what he wants, I guess. But he's never given a speech saying, I don't think you should have dental coverage. Yep. He's never said less elder care. I will not support this level of elder care. Or like you want rental assistance. No, I'm cutting that out of the bill. They've never had to do that. And so like they might acknowledge that they're sort of responsible, but even that is cloaked in, well, inflation and entitlement mentality and all of that. No, make it clear to the people that if they don't get this help, specific help, this is why, and make them make the case. Not even Manchin has had to do that. Kyrsten Sinema has barely even had 10 frames of video of her talking about all of this. And so that is frustrating too. It's too shallow and it really lets them skate by without having to even theoretically suffer any consequences for this, because most people are gonna have no idea that they're even responsible or why.
True, it's no, bro. I can't put it any better. There's no responsibility based off of what they're doing. And even the one thing he did say that I think is damning. I don't want America to become an entitlement society or whatever the hell he said, entitlement culture. The very next question should be, why do you think Americans are lazy? Do you think Americans have the least ambition in the world? You think if they get something back for what they pay for, that they'll just sit on their asses and do nothing about it? Why do you think Americans suck? What country is better than America, Senator? These are pressing questions with a bias because that's where I'm coming from right now. But it's based in reality for what you're saying. That's a negative connotation of Americans. I thought we're supposed to praise Americans. Oh my God, we can't say that this nation has any working to do. That idiot from South Carolina, Nikki Haley. She's talking about how we have to stop thinking about changing America, make sure we do things the right way, and looking back on our past, and how we gotta stop being self-loathing. Is this in self-loathing? We're talking trash about our own citizens that deserve benefits from things they paid for. And when they get that, they're lazy. Why do you think Americans are lazy, Joe?
Yeah. And look, I'm not gonna go at length on this, but it would be relatively easy for someone like a Bernie Sanders to say, Joe Manchin says that you're all developing an entitlement mentality. Good. Because you should. You are entitled to teeth that don't rot out of your head. If your vision goes and it's hard for you to work or even read a book, in America, you are entitled to be able to see. If you're a hardworking American who's being held back by the fact that your 3-year-old, the childcare is so expensive for them that it's impossible for you to even do the job that you want to do, you are entitled to receive some assistance in making that happen. You're entitled to all of this because of how powerful we are, how strong we are, how much money we have. If we have all of those things, what do we have it for if not to give you a bare minimum level of human decency, a quality of life? Joe Manchin thinks that that's a bad thing. I think that's the bare minimum we can do for you.
John, we're running for president. Which one of us is gonna lead the ticket? This is a great argument. Let's go.
No. Like, no hierarchy. The right wing likes the hierarchy. You and me are both on the same ticket running for president. Anyway, you want one, you're getting both. We'll split the salary, I think that's fair. We'll go alternating days in the Lincoln bedroom. Anyway, we should do that. Okay, so there's some other stuff. Manchin, he wants natural gas to be eligible for this clean electricity money. It's not clean, World is going to be just like, it's gonna be a burned tortilla by the time he's done with this thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, and of course he's against a carbon tax. The dude owns a coal company. I can't imagine someone I care less about their opinion on carbon taxes. But anyway, we'll see. Joe Biden's telling us like we'll scale things back. Manchin's like, well, maybe more, maybe not. Depends when you ask me if in the night or in the morning. I don't know. He listed all this other stuff that he supposedly supports. Well, Kyrsten Sinema doesn't support any of it. I'm not even gonna list it because it's a goddamn waste of our time. Anyway, any final thoughts before we close?
No, I feel like I've been yelling enough already to start this show.
Yeah. This is why JR needs to fill in on the second hour today for me, because my throat's not gonna exist by the end of this. Anyway, we will of course continue to do coverage for this. We have been staying laser focused on this because financially it's the most consequential thing that's gonna happen in 4 years, despite the fact that literally nobody cares or watches the videos about it. But anyway, that's our own issue.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.